Hello, America. I want to talk to you about righteous laws. The American founding fathers who started the Continental Convention in Philadelphia itself. Men who knew God to begin with, who were led by God when they wrote this. When America's founding fathers wrapped up the Continental Convention in Philadelphia on September 18th, 1787, they had hammered out a system of government far different from any that then existed. This was a government based upon laws of nature and of natures of God, rather than the arbitrary and unjust rule of men. False and unjust rule, much like the House and Senate has done today. They've let those off of charges. They should have never been let off of charges. And they've tried to put those charges on those for absolutely no reason except their own selfish, how can I say this, their own selfish agendas. By the way, you know who you are when I'm talking about this. Why am I talking about this tonight? God created humans to lead upright and orderly lives, but in the fall, we lost the God-given ability to constantly choose His path of righteousness and obedience. They can choose right and do the right things. Push your pride aside and do the right thing. The book of Leviticus reflects God's plan to lead humanity back to righteousness of His only Son, Jesus Christ. Why am I saying this? This is quoted in Righteous Laws. And when His Son died on the cross, He gave us that chance. I ask you today, pray for our leaders and show them how to rule. Men and women in Congress. And here's a sage advice. Where do I get my quotes from? We the people in God we still trust. The 365 day reader. And this is sage advice. In the summer of 1787, tempers flattered among the delegates of the 13 colonies meeting to draft the Constitution, meaning they could not agree with everything. this little quote in there I put in there is to and going on with what's in the sage advice. With the convention in danger of looking down, an 81-year-old statesman spoke in of profound wisdom, not especially religious. Benjamin Franklin nonetheless appealed to Psalm 127:1 and counseled delegates to seek the aid of the Almighty God, to seek the help. So this has a lot to do with righteous laws. Even though some would disagree with me on this, but hey, don't argue with me, argue with God. He's the one that wrote them. In Benjamin Franklin's speech, this is what he had wrote. The longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of his truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, it is probable that an empire can raise his aid. Question mark. That's just a mere question. We have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings, that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. I firmly believe this, and I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of the Babel. We shall be divided. Our projects will be confounded, and what is worse, mankind, many hereafter, despair of establishing government by human wisdom and leave it to chance, war and conquest. Therefore, more that henceforth prayers imploring the assembly of every morning before we proceed to business. I'm going to bring out a few points in this. And I want to make sure that people hear this realize they need to vote people in there that are Christians. In the sacred writings, that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Just like I did Watchman on the Wall. If they don't if they don't try to do what's necessary, without God's aid, God's help, they won't do it. Tower of Babel. They tried to build it to God. God saw what their reasoning was for it. God confused their languages. It sent them to different parts of the world. And we still have a problem today with it. That even though we may speak the same language, we disagree to a point that is hatred. Should we leave it to the world chance? War and conquest? No. Because we already got victory in God. God answered. Okay, I'm going to read you the rest of what was wrote. God answered the prayers on September 17th, 1778. The draft was completed. Supporter Benjamin Franklin asserted that they should fail in this grand experiment of liberty unless they sought the assistance of heaven. Unless they sought the assistance of God. I will leave you with a Patriot's Prayer tonight, which is really important to me. Lord, may our country, and may I seek your wisdom in everything we do. Our country needs to realize this, that if we don't start putting God first in our Congress and everything else, we're going to fail. But let me tell you right now, I believe our nation will turn around. I believe our nation has the ability to turn around. But it's going to take people to do it. I'm sorry I've had a long night. Sorry for the yawn. I've had a long night, but okay. Our nation still has the ability to keep Jesus Christ first. Straighten it up. We need to be praying for mercy, peace, and love back in this nation. And our leaders straighten up. Because if not, we're going to have issues. And major ones. And yet if you're anti-American, whether you're Senate, Congress, or whoever you may be, go back to your home country and let us do what we need to do. I will tell you this up front. I'm not a fascist. I'm for this country, not for God. Simple as that. We fought for our Constitution when we had to fight for it. Now it's time to fight for it again. I might be considered a rabble rouser. I might be considered a patriot. I might be considered whatever. But I'm standing up for what God believes in. That our country straighten up before we find ourselves in a world of trouble. And it starts with our families. It starts with our schools. It starts with our government. Get prayer back in schools. Put the 10 Commandments back on the walls of the courthouse. Put the 10 Commandments back in the walls of the schools again. Keep the 10 Commandments in Washington again. That way they're reminded of who God is. So I trust in you, America, to do what's right. And I will remind you of something tonight. The 4 points of the Declaration of Independence. All men created equal. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. Consent of the people. That when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to after or establish and institute a new government. That's in the Declaration of Independence. America, we got a choice to make. We're either going to fall or we're going to stay. We're going to stay. Only 2 choices we got. God bless America, and I hope you get this video and share it. Share it on your Facebooks. Share it on Instagram. Share it on whatever social media you're on. Get these people listening back to you again. Because if we don't, they won't listen to any Americans, period. God bless you, and share this on any media you have. Get it known out there. What the government's not telling you in history books. God bless.